Mark Red Larson here for the Green Catcher Podcast on a very hot and humid Mondays when I'm recording this. And actually, Central Air is not working, so that is why I'm wearing what I'm wearing. So yeah, it's all warm, it's all cool, but whatever it is, it's good. So actually been outside working, actually weeding or gladiolas. Um, I mean, I love this time of year. I mean, even if it is hot and humid, I still like it better than cold and wintry winds. So on that, when I'm doing the weeding or whatever I'm doing, and it gives me lots of time to think. And I've had lots of time to think over the last few months anyway, with everything going on. If you've listened to past podcasts, you know what Cheryl and I've been going through. Been a lot of time to reassess our life, whether we stay here, don't stay here, what's next, a lot of things, but a lot of time to think. And today, there's been a couple of things that have kind of made me think even more. One when I was actually sitting there reading, and it was something that my dad who lives about 30 miles away, came to visit this morning, and in our yard, which we have a big yard, and so we usually have somebody do it. Well, the gentleman who he and his son usually do it um, have the son has cancer, throat cancer, and it's not going well. And so I told him, I said, at the end of May, I guess it was, I said, whatever he had to do. I thought he was going to let me know whether he was going to mow or not, but he's got so many other things on his mind. They're so much more important than my yard. So my yard is, I mean, it's actually not as bad as I thought it'd be for not being mowed for this much time. Actually, I kind of like it. And I got to thinking, it's like, so who made the rule that yards have to be manicured? The people who have the money and have the influence, have the meticulously, easy for me to say, yards where everything is in place. But I kind of like the yard the way it is. Our wildlife likes it the way it is. It's pretty cool because the bunnies. This is how tall it is. The bunnies are out there, and they you can just see their ears, but they think it's pretty cool. So why is this not a yard that would be just as good as the other yard? This is more natural. I'm not using fuel to mow it. The wildlife is liking it. I'm not minding it. At first, the old me would have thought this looks terrible because I always liked a really manicured yard. I didn't want any dandelions. I wanted everything to look perfect. And now it's not overly. I mean, you can tell by the bunny, so how tall it is. You can still see his ears, and actually, there's two of them. They're really awesome bunnies because they are so tame. I think they come in. So, but it's just like, who made that rule that yards have to look that way? And I'm not saying that junky. Some of these people have all their trash out there and junk cars and everything else. And I'm not saying that. I think that there needs that's a rule that I think we need to make sure to keep things orderly. I don't know if that's it, but it's kind of a gray area because in their eyes that might look good too. But who makes all these rules? Who was the person that was entity that made all these rules? It's just like, if my yard is like it is right now, and somebody else thinks that's wrong because that's breaking the rule of looking nice. Who's to say? So, and then another one today when Cheryl and I were up this morning, we had the TV on a little bit. I guess it was the news, and they were saying that I think almost a third of maybe more than that of people this summer were going to go into debt to take a vacation. So yeah, and I'm not a big fan of debt, but they seem to promote debt when they want you to buy stuff. Buy this car, this $100,000 pickup. Buy, buy, just buy your college education. It's something that you can always get recoup. And we know with today's world, it's hard to pay that because it is so much money. But it's like, you got to get a college education, which I'm for education. I wouldn't go with that price. Today's world, with what I'm using right here, the internet, YouTube, and the like. You can just about learn what you want to do or start a business on there. And starting a business is so much more. The entry point is so much easier. I don't know if it's lower point for cost, but it is. There's so many people out there, myself, coaches, that will help you, and coaches are worth their money. People say they're expensive, but they shorten the learning curve. So there's a way that you could get something done much more reasonable, maybe exactly what you like. Because in college, I mean, it's a general. I mean, I have 2 degrees. If I had to pay now, would I pay? If I paid, let's see. Okay, I wouldn't go to college now if I had to pay what would have to pay now. If that makes sense. I just the cost is too much, and I know I've said that before. I don't think the cost return ratio is even close to being really good. And I mean, I'm all for education, so I'm for vacation too. Almost said that. So, but it, I had to basically I didn't have to pay that much. I had no. Cheryl and I were talking the other day. My wife, we had no debt when we got out. I can't imagine having $100,000 to start your life. Talk about trying to dig yourself out of a hole, because we actually have found that in another way. And who made this rule that medical costs in this country have to be so expensive? I think the people who made the rule are the ones that are trying to keep people under control, because if you're in debt, you're easily controlled. And I think that's why it's so costly. And with Cheryl's cancers and everything else, it has cost um, in the six figures, and it's hard to dig out of that. And we were well into our life, our adult life, not just starting out from college. So who made that rule? Who made that rule that you need to get a college education? I mean, when I was going to school, I mean, I didn't even give it a second thought. I just knew I was going to college, and I just I love the connections. The education, it's been all right. I've learned more probably with this arena than I did in college. And granted, this wasn't around when I got out of college or even in college. So, but who makes these rules? Who makes these rules that this debt is good, this debt is bad? We don't want to spend it on vacations. Oh my gosh, that's just terrible. You shouldn't go into debt. But it's something you would enjoy, something you would always remember. Travel is the best education, but it's okay if you're going to buy this really expensive vehicle. Um, it's two-sided, definitely two-sided, and it's just like, who makes these rules? Who makes them? I would just love to know that. Or a credit score. You know, with everything that Cheryl and I've gone through, we basically don't have a credit score, and I will never use credit again, ever. I will never have a credit score again. I don't care if anybody, they can look at it, it'll be there. But how isn't this basically like a social score that you have in China? Just a different name, very similar. I just don't think we realize that we're being under that guise. It's just a credit score, but it controls everything. It's like, can you get a house? Oh no, none of your credit score is not good. Or can you do this? And how is that not another control mechanism? And it's just I just it's all the stuff that I think about that when I have these times when I'm weeding glads or something like that. It's just, I guess I've woken up to another way of thinking, and going on to another tangent. Our government, and I know I've talked about this before. They want to hire so many more IRS agents, to make sure we're paying all our taxes, which is another thing I think is criminal, because they squander our money. So why are we not auditing them? Why aren't we? They are working for us using the money. We elected them. Most of them are elected. And why are we not doing that? Why are we not holding them accountable? We don't hold them accountable like they want to hold us accountable for our taxes. Wouldn't we want to hire somebody, maybe 80 some thousand, like they want to do for us, to audit the United States government? Because how many trillions of dollars have we lost? And we just blow it off because it's just the government. They're working for us, and they're taking our hard-earned money, and who knows where it's going. It's very interesting. There we go with the two-sided thing again. It's they can go after us, oh my gosh, we can't say anything. The government is the government. The government is us, or it should be, because the government is, they are elected to run this country for all of us. But we don't seem to think that is the case. Because I talk about people I've talked out in public. It's like, so why don't we audit the government? Why don't we audit the IRS? Every place that money goes, if there's, I think some of them, there should be maybe a random audit so they don't know. Just random every year, so many get audited, and find out where that money truly is going. And why don't we have term limits on Congress? Like the president. I think these people that do it as a career need to be out of there. We need to get new blood, because the people that are there are not representing the younger generation at all. And I don't care what you say. The younger generation is awesome. They're not lazy. They have a different thing of looking at the world, because a lot of stuff they don't go get jobs. Why would you get a job that isn't going to provide you enough money to make ends meet? You wouldn't. And I understand the business owners too. And I'm not for socialism. I definitely am not for socialism, because these business owners, they keep putting on these stupid things that is not in a free market. And how are they supposed to make a living? It's like, okay, talk about who made the rules. Who made the rules on that? I'm going to this is a rhetorical question, but who did make those? Because we can't have enough money for the people working to want them to apply. Because there's going to be some people that are, deadbeats, but they've been in every generation. There are no more deadbeats in this present generation, young generation, than there ever was in mine or any other generation. Because I find them refreshing. I have a lot of friends that are in their 20s. They're more entrepreneurial. They get it. They know that that's a dead end. There's not going to be enough money to retire or whatever you want to do. Retirement. Who came up with that? I'm going to get back to that, but getting back to the kids, the young generation, they're awesome. They're very entrepreneurial. Like I said, they go out there and they see a problem and they try and take care of it. And sometimes I talk about risk, and it's awesome. That is a true American dream. Is when these kids go out there and see a problem and they make money, and they're always talked down about it. It's like, well, they're just, they aren't doing what they should be doing. That, they should be going to school. They should be starting a family. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but, whether God is love, and, if two people love each other, I don't think it makes any difference to God if it's man and man or woman and woman. I don't think that is. And this is me. And I'll probably, but who made that rule? God made that rule. And a man and woman, that is, but I think also that when two people love each other, that is the ultimate thing. God is love. So, I don't know. I think it's confusing to children when it's two women, two men, whatever it is. But I have known many that have been that way and have kids. Kids seem to be turning out great. So, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I wish I could. And I talk to God daily. I should ask him that. So what is it, But it's just, who makes these rules? And I think, like Cheryl have talked, the Bible has been edited so many times over the eons or whatever, or the time period that the Bible has been around, that we have such a different version of the Bible from the original. And there's just so many things that, and who told people that churches had to be the way they are? Talk about making the rules. That's why the churches are struggling, because this younger generation, again, gets it. It's just like, no, that is not the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do that. And I will be soon doing a podcast with a lady who has started a non-denominational church. That's refreshing, because I've said many times in past podcasts that I think so many people don't go to church or don't know God because of all the rules and regulations that these churches put on to the people. And they're holier than thou. And some churches are not so bad, but they still, it's why I don't go to church. I don't, most churches I dislike greatly. Love God, love the Bible, love all that. But if I had to go to church, I probably would go running the other way. I don't like. And I'm for tithing and everything like that. I think that's one of the great things that was put in there, and I don't know, but I just that's another rule that I people don't go to church because of the and fearful God. And I've said this before. I've never known when I'm talking to God that He's been fearful. He's been a loving Father. He's been awesome. And you may think I'm crazy. Cheryl probably does think I'm crazy, but I do talk to him daily. He's the one that told me to go weed the glads, so I would have this epiphany. This idea to do this podcast. That's why I'm doing it immediately, because he put it into my head. It's just like, so why do we have all these rules that hold people down from living their best life, from living their life in love and in their best life, heaven on earth, rather than this hell on earth, which is what we have nowadays, because we have so many people. I mean, we live on a highway, and I don't think if those people were going 100, somebody passed. And what Dr. or Joyce Meyer said the other day, it's like, if you're having to rush or in a hurry, it's not from God. And that's what I found too. He's very, it's kind of weird because he tells me to slow down. This past weekend, all the stuff we did was told by him. And then yesterday, when we got back from Red Cloud, which is a town that Willa Catholic grew up in, around that area, he told us that Cheryl and I needed to go play cards. And I don't think Cheryl and I have ever played cards, the two of us, since we've been married. And we've been married over 33 years. We didn't even know any card games. We ended up playing Go Fish. I think we got a ways to go on it. So, but it was like, okay, this is really awesome. But it's just like, chill. And it's kind of like the generation of my grandparents. I mean, they played cards every night almost. And people will say, well, they didn't have the stuff we have nowadays. Granted, they didn't have a computer, but they had TV and all the other stuff and radio. And my mindset is changing. It's like, if I have to hurry or I have to grind or if I have to hustle, it's probably not coming from God. And who made those rules? Who made those rules? You had to grind and hustle. I don't know, because with the way we have today, we have all our stuff being made, or a good share of it made in China. And I really don't have problems with Chinese people. I have problems with the Chinese government and our government a lot, because I think because if they take all of our businesses and ship them over there, or make it so it's not possible, where you can't make a living, can't make profit here, they're going to have to stay in business. And our government kind of promotes that with the increase in minimum wage, all these other regulations that they're regulating us to death on purpose. It's a way to get all of the stuff have to go to China, where the labor is basically controlled because it's a communist country. And I know we need to go back and go from the end of World War II to probably mid 70s, when things started, when they took us off the gold standard, and seeing how this country was the best in the world, how we were leading the world. Everybody looked up to us. Now we're kind of, I don't want to live there. That's what people tell us. I do these podcasts and people are like, yeah, I'm glad where I'm at. And they do come to the United States, but they don't want to live here. And I've said that, Cheryl and I have even looked at going to Europe and living. So, but I'm not going to. I love the United States, and I'm going to work whatever it takes to get us back to that, where we were the best in the world. And I want the whole world to be the best in the world. Have it a win-win for everybody. So and the thing is, we need to stop trying to compete with the low end. You can't. It's a bad trip all the way down to the bottom, and nobody wins. It's a loss. You have to be premium, and premium brings back the good jobs, and it also brings back the good pay. And once you get the good pay, you have people that can buy more expensive things, and you start getting the trend that way. Right now, we're getting so there's not hardly enough money to buy anything, and so they have to cheapen it up some more so people can still buy it. And it's a dead end. It's a bad ending, and I'm afraid almost we're in a bad place. So, but getting back to who made the rules, who makes these rules for life? Who really did make these rules for life? I would really like to know why we have to live our life this way. Or I heard a lady this morning. She was in her early 60s, about me, my age, and she's like, "Oh, I'm old. I am old," which is really something you never want to say because I am anything you push I am afterwards, you will become. Um, I am a leader. You want to do stuff like that. I am, going to change the world. I will change the world. Um, so you don't want to do that. And who made it the rule that at 60 or whatever, when you're getting close to Social Security, that you're old? What if they had done that at 80? You'd still be middle aged if you were at 60. Change the rule. Change the reality. You just got to stop thinking what they tell you put in your mind. Yeah, some people, I think it's self fulfilling. It is something that people are like this lady that I saw. She basically getting herself ready for being old, and she will start doing the things like old people because it's like I'm old. I really don't have to do that anymore. Whereas if she was still middle aged, she's like, I'm going to do it. I'm still, ready to do that. So, but who made the rule? I mean, yeah, why did they make? I heard the other day that Social Security is 65 and the average age of people lived was 62. Does that sound like our government? Yes, it does. And we need better government. We need better government, and we need to get people that are everyday people in there running it. And maybe I don't know, maybe me. So or help with that. I mean, I don't know. I'll find out. God will direct me whatever way He wants me to go. Right now, He wants me to help people take their power back. And yeah, and I didn't realize how much power we had lost until He woke me up to how much power we have lost. We get told this. We get credit score has got to give this. You can't do this. You can't go on vacation and go in debt. You can't do. There are so many don'ts. You can't. And I'm of the opinion, throw them out. I mean, there are rules to keep civility in a society. There's got to be a basic, but there's so many that don't need to be there because it basically keeps people from being really being out there, getting their imagination going, and changing the world. And maybe this is kind of me thinking again that maybe it doesn't because it makes people so frustrated that they're going to do like me, and you know, who knows? Maybe that's the way too. God works in mysterious ways. And I know I've said that like the last three, but He does. Um, yeah, He really does. And so that is kind of where I'm going to go with this. I had to get this out. I mean, I was sitting there and God put it into my mind, and I thought, why it's there, I got to do this podcast because next time you're coming up against one of those rules, just think, who made that rule? Am I going to live by that rule? Am I going to think I'm old at 60, whatever? Am I going to retire like everybody else? And I wouldn't count on Social Security being there. With the government, it's so many $1 trillion in debt. I wonder where all the money that goes with they give these countries. Interesting. Another reason to audit them. So yeah, there's a lot of rules and a lot of things we need to re-examine, and because it's time to start reimagining the rules, and we don't really need as many rules as we have. Just start reimagining what's possible. And I know people, you've heard that many times, I'm sure, but it's like reimagine what's possible. What's possible for you? What is possible? Everything's possible. If you put it in your mind and do the I am a skydiver. I am going to start a business that changes the world. It feeds all the children. I am going to I am going to solve the problem with homeless. Um, Never know. You might be the one, especially if you believe you are the one, because God will. The resources come to you when you believe you are. And everybody's like, well, I can do this, but it's like, no, you have to believe first. And never know. If you believe, everything's possible. So on that, let's next time you're up against the rules, just to reimagine them and believe. So on that, thanks for joining me on this episode of the Dreamcatcher podcast. Until next time, take care.